It only took one joke, not a royal statement, not a lawsuit, not even a scandal headline. Just 30 seconds of sharp comedy on Saturday Night Live. Colin Jost, with that smirking delivery, dropped a throwaway line about Meghan Markle in the middle of his monologue, and the world didn't just laugh, it exploded. But this wasn't your average late-night jab. This one cracked open something Meghan thought was buried forever. Something she'd spent years and millions carefully repackaging, rewriting, and in some cases erasing. The infamous Yacht Girl rumors. The whispers that followed her from her pre-royalty days. And suddenly, with one joke and one resurfaced photo, those whispers became screams. And before we go deeper, make sure to subscribe now, because the media isn't going to tell you what's really happening behind these headlines. But here, we pull the curtain all the way back now. For most people, a blurry photo from over a decade ago would be nothing, just a grainy memory forgotten by morning. But Meghan Markle is not most people. One shadowy image showing a woman who looks eerily like her lounging on a yacht, surrounded by luxury men in suits, and champagne flutes was enough to throw her entire brand into chaos. The image wasn't confirmed, it wasn't denied, it didn't need to be. The timing was everything. The joke landed on Saturday Night Live, and within hours, Reddit looked like a crime board. TikTok sleuths were zooming in on jewelry, earring shapes, even sun angles. Trying to triangulate the time and location of the now viral yacht photo. Is it her? Some asked. It can't be. Others insisted. But the truth didn't matter anymore. What mattered was perception. And perception, especially for someone like Meghan, is everything. This isn't the first time Meghan has been accused of being something she's not. The British tabloids labeled her demanding, dramatic, even manipulative. But those were words. Labels easy to counter with a polished interview, a soft-lit documentary, a Vogue cover story, but a meme, a punchline that's different. You can argue with critics, you can sue journalists, but you can't sue laughter. You can't issue a statement to stop a punchline from going viral. And when people start laughing, instead of defending or, worse, instead of attacking, you're no longer controversial. You're a spectacle. That was the shift. Because here's the thing, Meghan had almost pulled it off. From Hallmark actress to royal duchess to podcasting philanthropist, she pulled off one of the most aggressive image transformations of our time. A few years ago, she was writing blog posts about avocado toast and yoga poses. Then she was sitting next to Oprah saying the royal family tried to silence her. It was a story that felt made for TV. And maybe it was. But what happens when the story starts to unravel? What Colin's joke did wasn't just cause outrage. It caused curiosity. It invited the audience to think, to look back, to connect dots. And when they did, the internet didn't just find one photo. They found dozens. Photos, rumors, blog archives, images that had been conveniently forgotten, timelines that suddenly didn't add up, friends that vanished without a trace, PR stories that contradicted each other, and then came the whispers. Was Meghan really plucked from obscurity? Or had she always had access to high society, long before Harry ever entered the picture? Because, let's be honest, fairy tales are cute. But the world doesn't believe in fairy tales anymore. It believes in strategy, in branding, in manipulation, and Meghan. She's starting to look less like Cinderella and more like someone who knew exactly what she was doing from the start. Behind the scenes, it's reportedly chaos. Sources close to the Sussex camp claim that Meghan didn't just get annoyed by the joke, she exploded. Her team immediately went into crisis mode, making phone calls, pushing for corrections, pleading for the story to be reframed. But it was too late. The story had already mutated. It wasn't about a single photo anymore. It was about everything that photo symbolized. Because maybe Meghan's greatest talent wasn't acting, it was curating. Crafting a public image so pristine, so meticulously polished, that nobody stopped to question where it began. The outfits, the speeches, the humanitarian causes, the trauma narrative, it was all compelling until it started to feel like a sales pitch. Because here's the harsh truth. The more perfect the branding, the more suspicious people become, especially when the cracks start to show. And Colin's joke, it wasn't a hammer, it was a chisel. Quiet, sharp, surgical. The kind of tool that doesn't make a mess. It just breaks things clean. And once the statue starts to crack, everyone leans in to watch it fall. Somewhere between the memes, the media frenzy, and the silent panic inside Meghan's camp, something started to shift. People weren't just sharing the yacht photos anymore, they were remembering things they weren't supposed to. Old interviews where Meghan contradicted herself. Friendships that ended abruptly without explanation. Stories that were once dismissed as tabloid trash were now being viewed with fresh eyes. The internet had turned into a detective agency. But not just any agency one with receipts, timestamps, AI-enhanced facial recognition, and a shared obsession with uncovering the truth, and what they were piecing together wasn't just one blurry image from a yacht. It was a pattern. Photos started popping up in forums that had long been ignored. Blogs with dead links were being archived and re-uploaded. Pictures that looked like they had been airbrushed out of Meghan's narrative suddenly re-emerged, showing her at exclusive parties, rubbing shoulders with the ultra-wealthy. Long before her royal connection, one particular thread claimed Meghan had even been at the same private event as Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein, years before she ever met Harry. There's no concrete proof. Of course, no smoking gun, but that didn't matter. Because this wasn't about fact-checking anymore. This was about momentum. And Meghan's story, once so carefully controlled, was now spinning on its own. And what made it worse was her silence. Meghan has never been one to let things slide. When the British tabloids attacked her, she sued. When social media turned on her, she dropped empowerment podcasts and heartfelt interviews. When critics got too loud, she posted cryptic captions about strength and resilience. But this time, nothing. No Instagram, quote, no curated photo op, no strategically timed podcast drop. Just ... silence. And that silence didn't read like dignity. It read like panic. Or worse, dash guilt. Because if the photos were fake, wouldn't you say so? If the joke was unfair, wouldn't you push back? Instead, her team went quiet. Hollywood quiet. The kind of quiet that usually comes before someone gets dropped from a project. The kind of quiet where meetings get postponed, sponsorships go on pause, and big-name friends suddenly stop returning your calls. And meanwhile, Colin Jost, he went on like nothing happened. No apology, no retraction, no Instagram live about being misunderstood, because he didn't need to. The damage had been done on, he wasn't the target. She was . And every hour that passed, it got worse. YouTubers dissected her past like it was a true crime series. TikTok creators matched shadows in the yacht photo to real-time sun positions. Instagram Reels stitched her old blog posts with present-day scandals. Podcasts began using her as a cautionary tale and branding overreach. But the scariest part for Meghan wasn't the viral jokes. It was what was happening behind the scenes. Because the world of entertainment, trial entertainment, is brutal. And in Hollywood, perception is currency, and Meghan's stock, it's dropping. She had always walked a fine line between royalty and celebrity, leveraging the mystique of the crown with the relatability of a social activist, one foot in Buckingham, one foot in Beverly Hills. She was the Duchess who did podcasts, the royal who wore ripped jeans, the humanitarian who knew how to pose for Vanity Fair. But now, she's becoming something worse than scandalous. She's becoming unpredictable, and in Hollywood, unpredictable doesn't get you booked. It gets you blacklisted. One entertainment insider claimed Meghan's name was pulled from a major speaking event last minute. Not because she said anything controversial, but because of what might come out next. One brand manager allegedly flagged her. As to unstable translation, she's not worth the risk. And that's what this is really about. Not truth. Not even morality. Risk. Reputation is less about facts and more about feel. And right now, Meghan feels off-brand. Her image was built on empowerment, transparency, and modern royalty. But when even one photo threatens that illusion, suddenly everything else gets questioned. And Meghan, she's no longer being seen as the victim of a ruthless media machine. She's being seen as the architect of her own myth. Asterisk. And when a myth starts to crack, people don't just step back. They dig in. Because here's what the public hates more than scandaline authenticity. Celebrities with pasts, fine. Celebrities with drama, even better. But celebrities who pretend they're something they're not. That's where the real backlash begins, and that's exactly where Meghan finds herself now. This isn't about the yacht anymore. It's about the erasure, the cleanup, the obsessive scrubbing of her origin story, until it gleamed like royalty, until it gleamed so brightly, it blinded people, at least for a while. But now the shine is wearing off, and what's left underneath? That's the part no one's quite sure about, because Meghan didn't just delete photos or deactivate accounts. She deleted people. She burned bridges. Friends she was once inseparable from, mentors, stylists, confidential, erased like background noise from a polished PR campaign. One by one, they disappeared, and no one dared ask why. Until now. Now, people are starting to connect the dots. The mysterious vanishing acts, the carefully timed interviews, the press releases that contradicted previous ones. And it's starting to feel less like coincidence, and more like a cover-up. And through all of it, Harry's still there. Sort of sources say he's fuming. Behind the scenes, walking a tightrope between support and self-preservation. Publicly, he's quiet. Privately, he's frustrated, because no matter how far he tries to distance himself from this scandal, his name is still attached to hers in every headline, every conspiracy. Every meme he once said he left the royal family to protect Meghan. But now, she's the one dragging him through a new kind of media storm, one with fewer rules, fewer boundaries, and no Buckingham Palace press team to shield them. And the backlash. It's not coming from the usual suspects. It's not just the tabloids. It's not just the haters. It's her own audience. The lifestyle followers, the podcast listeners, the casual defenders who used to repost her speeches and quote her affirmations. They're going silent. Not because they've turned on her, but because they don't know what to say anymore. Her defenders once had ammunition. She's breaking barriers. She's speaking her truth. She's the victim of royal oppression. But now, all they have is awkward silence. And silence in this world is contagious, because in the media machine, when the buzz dies down, it's not peace, it's extinction. Projects go quiet, emails stop coming. Campaigns get pushed to Q4 and never mentioned again, and the big names, the ones who once sat beside her on panels and praised her at summits, they're stepping away. Not with a bang, but with a shrug. Quietly, politely, carefully, because no one wants to be next to the person trending for all the wrong reasons. And Meghan's name, it's no longer trending for philanthropy or podcast exclusives. It's trending for suspicion, for contradiction, for what might be true. One major talent agency even passed on a multi-million-dollar project with her, citing brand inconsistency. That's code for, we don't know who she is anymore. And neither does the audience. And here's the brutal irony that was always Meghan's superpower. She wasn't just famous because she married a prince. She was famous because she knew how to market it. She turned royal rebellion into a brand. She made breaking the rules look like liberation. She sold herself as a modern woman who didn't need the crown, she wore her own. But now that crown is slipping, because when the foundation is fake, it doesn't matter how glossy the Instagram feed is, eventually people stop clicking, they stop buying, and they stop caring. And that's where the real danger lies, not in the scandal itself, but in the apathy that follows. Because Meghan Markle isn't just facing a media backlash, she's facing a cultural one. The kind that doesn't make headlines, it makes punchlines. And once you become a punchline, there's no PR playbook that can save you right now. Her name is being stitched into TikTok reels with Yacht memes and layered over parody clips of her speeches. One side-by-side went viral comparing her empowerment TED Talk with slow-motion footage of the alleged yacht scene, set to circus music. Another reel mocked her old blog entries, reading her spiritual affirmations over drone shots of luxury boats and private beach parties. It's cruel, it's petty, but it's spreading. And in today's world, that's all it takes, because the audience doesn't care if it's truth, they care if it feels true. And when someone's brand is built on perfect messaging, even a whisper of inauthenticity becomes a wrecking ball. One viral comment summed it up perfectly. It's not the yacht photo, it's the fact that she pretended to walk on water the whole time. That hit harder than any headline, because it spoke to the root of the backlash. Not what she did, but what she denied. Not who she was, but who she pretended not to be. Because plenty of celebrities have scandalous pasts. That's not the problem. The problem is pretending the past never happened. The problem is rewriting your story so aggressively that it stops feeling like a story and starts feeling like a lie. And that's the story people are reading now. Not Meghan the survivor, not Meghan the activist, not Meghan the Duchess, but Meghan the illusionist. And inside the Sussex circle, it's panic mode. Insiders claim there's infighting among her team. Advisors want to release a statement, others say silence is the safest path. PR firms are allegedly rotating in and out with no clear crisis response in place. Projects are being postponed indefinitely. Even Arcuel, the couple's flagship nonprofit, has reportedly gone quiet. With no major events or announcements in the pipeline, the machine is stalling. Harry, meanwhile, is said to be splitting his time between damage control and retreat. Sources say he's deeply concerned not just about Meghan's image, but about how it reflects on him. Because every scandal, every meme, every viral photo, his name is right there with hers. And after years of trying to protect her from the press, now the press is something even he can't outrun. And the timing couldn't be worse. They're no longer the shiny new post royals. The novelty has worn off. The big deals, the exit, the Netflix stall, the podcast fizzles have all left a trail of unfinished promises. And now, with the yacht saga gaining traction, the final pillar holding up Meghan's brand, her relatability's starting to wobble, because once you lose public trust, it doesn't matter how many documentaries you release, or how many heartfelt interviews you give, or how many self-love mantras you post on social media. If the foundation feels fake, nothing sticks. In Meghan's image, it was all about control, precision, presentation. But now, it's spiraling. She's no longer ahead of the narrative, she's chasing it, and here's the part no one says out loud. This isn't just a PR issue, it's a reputation collapse. And in Hollywood, that's career-ending. Because when the people who once cheered you on start quietly stepping away, it's not betrayal, it's self-preservation. They see what's coming. They know how fast the tide can turn, and they're not risking their own image for someone whose story no longer adds up. Asterisk, because that's the brutal truth behind the headlines. You don't need to be canceled to be erased. You just need people to stop caring, to look at your name shrugged and scrolled past. That's when it's over, not with outrage, but with indifference. And Meghan Markle, once the center of royal rebellion, of feminist discourse, of media fascination, is now floating in a space no celebrity ever wants to be in. Irrelevance? She built her brand like a luxury product, aspirational, spotless, untouchable. But once the packaging gets ripped open and people see the cracks, the value drops. And fast. And now, with every passing hour, every viral video, every reposted photo, that once flawless image is bleeding authenticity. What's left behind is a woman not caught in a scandal, but caught in her own mythology. And the world is starting to ask, was any of it ever real? Because that's what happens when you try to control every chapter of your story. Eventually, people stop reading it like a fairy tale and start dissecting it like a crime scene. And Meghan, she's not facing a PR nightmare anymore. She's facing something much worse. Narrative she can't control, because no matter what statement she eventually releases, no matter how many glossy sit-down interviews or Netflix specials she rolls out next, this story, the joke, the yacht, the silence will always live online, unfiltered, uncontrolled, and more powerful than any palace press release or Hollywood rep can spin. So where does she go from here? That's the question. Can she salvage the brand? Or is this the beginning of the fade out? Because you can rebrand many things. A career, a cause, even a crown. But you can't rebrand a meme. And once the internet turns your life into a punchline, you're not a narrative anymore. You're a symbol. A cautionary tale of what happens when the illusion becomes bigger than the person. So watch closely, because this isn't just about Meghan Markle, it's about what happens next, when the mask slips, and the truth refuses to stay buried. Asterisk, if you made it this far, you already know this isn't just gossip. It's a media autopsy. Hit that subscribe button because we're just getting started. More stories, more truth. And trust me, what's coming next will blow this wide open.